To live. We need to enjoy this life that we have, because it is the only life that we have.
True.
But if we keep forgetting about ourselves, remember there is you. It's all about yourself, even as you think about others.
Yeah.
And that will bring you to enjoying whatever you're doing, whether it is at work, whether it is this marriage, whether it is these children that you're bringing up, or whether it is your family, where you're coming from. A lot. So make sure you take care of yourself. It is part of taking care of yourself by doing the self-care, self-love, and with that, you're going to enjoy the life and also the marriage that God has blessed you with. So take watch and always remember there is you who need to live and enjoy life.
Good evening and welcome to PrayerCaveTV. This is Being One Show. My name is Ken Campbell and I am happy to be here at this hour just to bring you this wonderful show. This amazing show where we talk about things pertaining marriage. We discuss marriage, we discuss families, and we discuss things pertaining building marriages. And here we say that marriages work, and we thank God because of this wonderful time that He has given us, and also thanking God because of you, wherever you're watching us from. I know we have people all over this nation and even in other countries. God bless you so much for choosing PrayerCaveTV. So I want to welcome you even as we get into discussing a very important topic in this episode, and I'm telling you for sure you're going to love it. Actually, you're even going to love yourself more. So please don't go anywhere. In fact, call somebody and tell them to join in. And for they that are watching us on our YouTube channel and on Facebook, karibuni sana. Please leave a comment right there. Leave even follow. Give us a thumbs up right there. And even tell us what you're learning from this episode. So without taking so much time, allow me to welcome our guest for tonight, even as she also introduces herself to us, and then thereafter we shall continue with our discussion. Karibu sana. Yes, welcome to PrayerCaveTV.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And praise God.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Ken, for the invitation.
Oh, yes.
I really am humbled, and I bless God for this hour that we are here to have this session.
Oh, yes.
And therefore, I'm really looking forward that you're going to be able to discuss quite a number of issues that pertain marriage and family.
Yes.
That are very crucial.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so my name is Mary Wanjiru Ngige, and I'm born again. I love Christ as my personal savior. I can also say I'm a young mother of 2 boys.
Oh, yeah.
I have a son who is turning 10 years by December, and the other one is 7 years. Currently, I am widowed. I lost their father, or rather my husband, 4 years. This is my 5th year, but the grace of God has been sufficient. Professionally, I'm a counseling psychologist, and more so in the training. So I'm a teacher in counseling. That's what I'm specializing more on. And therefore, I've been working for quite a number of years on that area.
Oh,
yeah, so I'm coming from a family of 8, being the 7th born. And I bless the Lord for that. My parents are there, and I bless God for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Quite an introduction right there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And you look amazing. Let
Thank
me just
you.
tell, I know. Our viewers, she looks amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
We thank God for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for even accepting our invitation to come and even talk about this wonderful topic.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking about or even discussing self-love, self-care in marriages, because it is important that we do that even while you're married. You know, it doesn't stop the moment you get into marriage. No, it still continues. And so that is what we are going to be discussing this wonderful evening. And so without even taking so much time, let's dive into it. Madam Mary, allow me to call you Madam Mary.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
Yes.
with me.
All right. So let's start by what's the meaning of self-care, self-love in marriage.
Okay. To start with, self-care, actually, even as the word says, is much more of taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
I usually start it by as an individual, because now when it comes to marriage, we are coming together, and it is the aspect of trying to work on yourself, having breaks in between your life as you try to balance all life. So when you talk about self-care, there are some aspects that you are going to discuss of how you need to take care of yourself as a person, even as you're in the marriage. And also there is a aspect of embracing the self-care together when you come into this institution of marriage together. Self-love is also connected with the self-care in an aspect of, like, when you do self-care to yourself, it is communicating love, like how much you love yourself, how much you love and treasure this marriage. And because of doing some activities that you're going to discuss on that, it really helps the marriage to nourish and also enjoy it, because I say it's an institution that you're not waiting to terminate or to finish. So it helps you to continue enjoying and maintaining it well with the family, because we say marriage and family because they're also children together. That's true.
Wonderful. I also heard there's something to do with something else called self-value. I don't know if that is also connected to all that.
And talking about the self-value, that is where I'm mostly interested at looking into when I'm talking about self-care. Because there's one question I ask people: how much do you value yourself? Like just giving a scenario, like you take yourself to a market, like the way we find tomatoes at 10 bob, mangoes at 50 bob. Like how much would you attach a value to yourself? Like if you are to sell yourself, how much would you? Because to me that communicates how much you value yourself. I know we are valueless as human beings, but how much do you value yourself? Because if you ask yourself that question, then the self-care, self-love will make a meaning to you. And for that self-value, you know, that you have attached to yourself, then it helps you and it boosts you even in terms of the confidence about yourself. So self-value is in the self-care. The moment you're able to do a lot of self-care, then it boosts and improves your self-value, because you're able to appreciate yourself and recognize yourself in where you're existing, whether it's in the marriage or even a personal life.
Wow, wonderful. When we talk, this is actually outside what we had planned. When we talk about self-love and self-value and self-care, all that, does it include the part of you being selfish about yourself? Are we talking about being selfish about yourself, you know? And it becomes me, I, and myself.
Of course, and that is what we are working on, the aspect of feeling self-guilty, or where you feel like you shouldn't be doing it. That is why we will talk about it, because I have realized how much we are so much busy in the institution of marriage, and we tend to forget about ourselves simply because you're feeling guilty. If I do this, could it be like it's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy? You know, what is the need of doing this? But little do you know, if you start doing these things, this is how they are going to help you all around. So we tend to feel guilty, or we feel like we want to deny ourselves, yet it is something that is very crucial in our personal life, because it helps our mental, you know, we are talking about aspects like being physically healthy, mentally healthy, and also psychologically. And if we deny ourselves as much as we are feeling guilty when you're doing it, then you can imagine how much we will suffer in it. So we need to live a free life, because I say this life is the only place that you're living in. You don't have another one. So prioritize and do the best, because when you do something good to yourself, you're able to boost your confidence, and it makes you feel like you're living or you're existing. But sometimes you're so busy just taking care of a matter of family and marriage, But again, we forget this person who need to live and experience life even in this kind of a setup. Yeah, so let us not feel guilty about that, or rather waste of time.
True. So you talked about living a free life. Probably you could expound on that, because you know, when we talk about living a free life, someone might, you know, think no, she's telling us we, you know, get to lose a bit or something. Maybe you can expound on that.
Okay. Living a free life, I want to put it in two ways. One is that you're not so much like scheduled within the tight schedule. Like there are things I say in life, they are very important. Like for example, work, career, family. And you see, for families is to your personal family and also the family of origin where you're coming from. Things like church, things like community, and you need to participate, and also the personal life, you need to participate in all those aspects. But sometimes we make ourselves not have the freeness in exercising ourselves, like giving ourselves those little breaks in the midst of all that, because I wouldn't tell you to stop these aspects of life, because they are very important, but in the midst of having them all, are you getting your free time to exercise that you're living? Because that is where people are getting burnout and they're getting so weary. Like in the matters of family, on the other aspect, giving an example of a mother, being a mother here, with the children and probably your husband, and you realize that you're not exercising the freeness as an individual. Like for example, I have these children, maybe I decide I want to take myself out. Na wakati niko hapo nikanyama choma, and I'm eating, I'm like, oh my goodness, what about my children? What about my husband? You see, so it makes me not have the freedom or to be free to exercise the self-care, self-love. So that is what I urge people. In the midst of all that, set your breaks in between, feel free about it. And again, like I'm saying about my children, I'll also set their time, and probably the husband, though mine is not there for those who have, set him a time, set for your children time where you can take them out so that they can also feel that. But initially you had your own time. Mothers, we tend to forget ourselves in that. And I keep challenging them. Then they don't embrace the aspect of even buying yourself a gift. You know, buy yourself a nice dress, you know, something good to yourself. But there is also time for you to also do it to the other members of the family. Be free in it.
That is so important. And it doesn't mean that you've forgotten about the others, because your well-being is also will have an effect to the others. So if you are not okay, then they will not be okay.
And also maybe I can give another example of a personal level. Before my husband went to be with the Lord, we just got married for only 5 years, though it was a moment of experiencing love and I really enjoyed it. To me, 5 years were like 30 plus years. That time, we used to have time for self-care. I had taught him about it. And I remember we used to go, even sometimes we'd wait for the children to sleep. We just drove out and we go have fun together. And most of the things we used to go do together outside was like having dinner or having a choma together. And when the time came, this man passed. That was one of the way I got into the grieving. Like I used to go on myself, because this is one thing we used to do together. And now that he's not there, I prioritized on it. And the aspect of where I'm talking about having the self-care as an individual for the sake of even your marriage or the family, I realized I needed to continue with it. Because Mary needs to be strong for these children. But I believe there's no way I'll be strong for them if I'm not strong as an individual. So I had to embrace the aspect of working hard towards remembering Mary needs to exist. Mary needs to do things that will make her at least appreciate herself. So for me, I used to do a lot of it as an individual, even without him. And that is one aspect that gave me the strength to be able even to take care of the children. Because there's no way you'll be strong for somebody, whether it's a husband or your child, if you're not strong as an individual. Because that is the mistake that people are doing. So much, giving like 9 to others, you're left with 1. So to me, we need to change.
And balance.
Yeah. Be strong so that you're strong for others.
Wow.
Self-care, self-love. That's
true.
yeah.
Wonderful. What role does it play? Maybe we can top it up, because I think we've touched a little bit. What role does self-care and self-love play in making a healthy marriage?
Okay, now when it comes to marriage, and in this case you're talking about a healthy marriage. Maybe next time we'll talk about a healthy marriage and unhealthy marriage. So self-care for a healthy marriage is whereby if you learn to do this oftenly, number one, it helps you to connect. Because you're having like your free time together besides the tight schedule. So the moment we start doing it, number one, we are able to connect. And we are also able to have a good communication, because this is a moment where you're able to go and discuss. You know, you're not discussing matters family, matters work, matters personal life. We are discussing ourselves issues, not even finances, not whatever challenges maybe we've experienced. But here we are focusing on you, me. You know, and at that time is where now umeweka hizo mambo zote chini and you're focusing on yourself. So I have find it very crucial in marriage and family, as much as you're connecting together, you also are able to have a free communication. And that is where maybe if there are issues that you've been experiencing, you're able to embrace them together. Take for example, like one activity, maybe we'll be talking about those activities for self-care, is when you're taking a walk together. There's this couple I used to see, when they are having conflict and issues within the marriage, they just used to take a walk. They just walk some meters away together too, as they're just talking. And by the time they are coming back, they've already resolved their issues. And that is a challenge I also pose to marriage and families, that you need to know your own way of when now you come together to do something together that makes you reconnect. So another benefit is that it boosts the confidence. You know, when you're having your own time together there, you're able to have the confidence within yourself, and you're able to talk with a lot of confidence. You don't feel bad about this marriage and family, and you're able to air out any feelings, because self-care helps you to air out. You know, you have had a lot of inlets with work, whatever issues, but this time is when now you're having the outlets together with your partner. So it is very, very healthy, among so many other benefits with the self-care in marriage.
So thank you even for that discussion right there. And even before we continue to any other thing, what does a role of self-care and self-love play in a family?
Okay. Yes. So most importantly is the aspect of connectedness. Okay. When you have an aspect of doing self-care frequently and self-love, it helps you to connect. Yes. Because it's a time when you're coming together, when you're doing something together. Yes. So the togetherness brings that aspect of cohesiveness, which is one thing, and also the productivity. You become productive when you have set time for your own thing, whether you're doing it together or as a person. Yes. So it brings the aspect of growth, whereby you're able to discuss where are we headed to, and what do we want in life. And that also helps benefit the children, because they're able to be brought up in an environment that they already know where they're going to. So that is one aspect of the advantages or the importance of having this in a family. It also enhances communication, whereby they are able to talk. That time that they are doing things together, they are able to communicate. And even when they had conflicts, they are able to find time to resolve them together, because that environment, they are having their own time. So it's not quite demanding, and so they're able to air out. It also helps to bring out their emotions. You know, we are emotional being, and sometimes the issue marriage, family overwhelms us emotionally. So that times you're also able to discuss all that, and therefore able to ease the magnitude of the issues that maybe probably you're having. Yeah, it also helps you to discover your partner's interests and dislikes, their dreams, their inspirations, their fears, you know, their fun, and all of that. So it has got a lot of benefits within the family. But the major ones I look at is the productivity, and also boosting the communication, which is very, very important in the area of marriage and family. family. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. And the areas and the activities that involve self-care in marriage and family, maybe you can discuss on that.
So I can talk about love map. There's something I call love map.
Okay.
A love map is that aspect of where you're discovering your partner. Like, what does it that he likes? What is it that he doesn't like? What are his interests? What are his abilities? What are his fears? Because now when you come to talk about the activities that I'm to discuss, is that you already know your partner and you know what he likes, what he doesn't like, so that you don't keep imposing something to somebody who is not able to concentrate or not good in that aspect.
Wow.
So some of the activities for self-care are like taking a nature together. Like I asked, when last did you take a walk out, you know? And also for those people who are like the couple here in a marriage, when last did you just decide? And you see, for self-care, I also say it is something intentionally. You know, you intend to do it like intentional.
Yes.
So here you take a nature together, mnezenda kama karura, and just taking a walk, nothing like other business, and that is very, very important. Other activities like physical activities, you may decide to take a walk together, or run together, or even having indoors games like football, hide and seek, you know, those indoors games, and they really boost the family, especially for the kids. If they see that you're doing something together, it brings some aspect of peace within the family. And it communicates a happy family. The other activities, like when you decide as a couple in this marriage that we want to have a date, you know, we've been used to taking our meals from the house. We purposefully decide that we want to have our dinner out, maybe have a cup of tea together. And I'm saying maybe as a couple, but even as sometimes you can decide to do it as a person, as an individual. Where you're doing it purposefully for yourself, but here we would want to look at it more as a couple, so that we can boost this marriage. These are the things that people are not doing that are making them get so much overwhelmed in this tight schedule thing. And you know, marriage is not a one day or a week or a month. It is a lifelong kind of a life that you have to be in. So taking time to do the journals, like I say, it's good to write down your feelings, your emotions, and also having meditation moments. There's so much about the activities for self-care. And this one, I also say, like I said, it will depend on what you love to do together. Like for us, we used to love traveling together. Even at night, we'd wait for the kids to sleep. We just drove off. Tunazunguka town. There's nothing we are doing. And by the time we are coming back, we have really unwind a lot. So identify what is that. As a couple, you can find yourself doing it easily. That makes you come together as part of self-care, self-love.
It's good to be creative also. You probably have been working for a long time now. Now it's going to be probably time to try something else. That's why you said it's good also to know your partner. Know the you call them the likes, the dislikes. The likes and dislikes. They are called love maps. Is it the same as love languages?
This one, it's more like the same, because you're able to know and connect with your partner with what they love.
That's true.
Maybe this person loves time. Like for me, mine was time. So I just like to be given time. Like this man is sparing time for me, you know. Another person would want to be recommended. Another person would, you know, everybody has their likes and dislikes. So know your partner's likes, then you come together to merge so that you do it together. We usually say all that you do together. I even say even taking a bath together. By the way, taking a shower together. Sometimes once in a while, it's healthy anyway.
Sijui mbona wanasikia ni kama umebackslide ukisema hivyo, lakini ni ukweli.
It is very true. Because, you know, when you're doing it together, whether it's taking a bath or cooking together, you know, you're making fun, you know, you're enjoying that moment, and you're able to communicate and leave other things that are really straining you. So everything for doing together, for me, it's love care.
I think that's a very important thing, even to at that point to tell people that, you know, we have to work out our marriages for them to, and these are the things and the activities that will help us build our marriages you know, on another level. Wow.
The other thing I'm also thinking of is whereby you're also deciding to visit your friends. You know, nowadays especially, we are not finding time to connect. And you see, we are social beings.
True.
And sometimes when we connect with our friends, maybe probably it's a couple, you have a couple friend.
Yeah.
Or if it is you as an individual, you have a friend. Find time also to connect with the friends. Because in the process, you're able to also air out yourself and reduce the burnout. Yeah, kukaa kujifungia kwa nyumba, it's really bringing a lot of issue. Walk out, have time, connect with people, hear what is happening, and you come back and realize that you're also living.
True. Wow. Our bishop always says it is important. Yeah, anakuwa na wakati nitoa floating. Yeah. Anaenda tu mahali ana float peke yake. And I think that's self-love at some point.
That's a self-care.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. Even before we get to our commercial break, maybe we can touch on signs that one partner needs self-care. What are those signs that will show us that huyu
anahitaji self-care?
Yes.
I started by saying self-care touches some areas, like you're talking about emotional aspects, physical aspect, and psychological aspect. So when someone has got a sign of like they need self-care, it's like when they're not able to work on what is happening within themselves. Take for example a burnout.
Yes.
Maybe you have overworked yourself and it has affected your physical being, where you're so tired, you feel you want to stretch. So that is the time you realize that you need to have a self-care. And burnout, it's not only for physical.
Yeah.
You know, unasema umechoka physically. There is also the bit of emotional burnout, whereby you're tired emotionally. This is where you find even when people are within that marriage, mtu anaongea tu, you know, like it's like there is an aspect of irritation. So much on you, a lot on the table, you know, and you need to make sure that you bring everything together, you know, things to work. So you get emotionally drained, and that is emotional burnout. That person will need a self-care. The other one is that when you feel you're less connected. Unajua kuna wakati mnasikia mko tu juu mko tu. You're not connecting. Tuko tu juu tunafaa kukua pamoja, but you're not able to connect. This is a time you need to take a break and look for an avenue for doing the self-care, whether as a couple or even as an individual. Yeah, so that it can bring you, you know, a marriage, you need to be still connected. And you can always feel when you're disconnecting, maybe a lot of burnouts and so forth. The other thing that tells you that you need to take out and have a self-care is when you're always thinking negative. You know, when we get so overwhelmed, we don't see the possibilities. And one thing I usually say is that human beings, we are created to think more negative than positive. So if you realize yourself now, you're starting to think more negative, you're seeing impossibility, watoto, sijui huyu mtu, you know, mnasumbuana. There's nothing good you're seeing in between. You need to take a break and do a self-care. It brings the aspect of positivity because you remind yourself that you're back to yourself. So that is another sign that you need a self-care, self-love. The other one is the bodily pains. Wakati umeanza kusikia your shoulders, your joints, your head, headaches, persistent headaches, body pains, then you need to take a break and do self-care. Just find a time that you can be able to do that. It helps your body to come back. Yeah, lakini we are overworking ourselves until the body is not able to carry, and therefore even we overwhelm our marriages. Take a break. It won't cost you a lot.
Wow. Wow. On that, probably one thing and one question on you know, the bodily pains and all that, and us being busy and having busy schedules. Like right now, I know people who went to, you know, their jobs very early in the morning. But now is rest among, you know, self-care. Rest is actually one of the major part of self-care. Where now you decide, Ken, today I'm not intentional. We said self-care is very intentional. Today I'm not going to work, and I may maybe give a reason, and I decide I will not work. Sometimes I also do that. Hata hiyo mlango sitafungua. You know, you purposefully decide that I want to just have sleep. That is rest, because this body, nasemanga hata gari naendanga kufanyiwa service. The body also needs service. And like I said,
this is the only body you have, and you know you need to take care of this body, whether it is physically, mentally, psychologically, because it has to keep going. Hakuna wakati itasema sasa umeiweka parking, but we keep on pushing ourselves a lot to the corner until now, by the time we are realizing we are already breaking up. So taking a rest is part of self-care. Wow. And you intentionally do it. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Wow. Madam Mary, hold at that point. We take this short commercial break. When we come back, and I know it's immediately, we are not going to take long.
Yeah.
We are going to continue the topic of self-care, self-love in our marriages, and even as individuals. Tell us what you're learning. Please comment right there on our Facebook page or even on our YouTube channel. Also send us a message right there on 0710 54 64 54. Tell us vile ambavyo unasoma, and do you think you need self-care? Please talk to us. We are going to be right back after this break. So. Welcome back, our viewer. God bless you so much for keeping it being one show, your number one marriage show. And we thank you even for choosing PrayerCaveTV, also, which is your number one Christian station. Karibu sana. We've been talking about self-love in marriages, and we have had an amazing time with our guest, Madam Mary. And we have seen the importance of, having self-care, self-love. Very important, even for in the building of a healthy marriage. And we have seen several things that actually can be able to help us build our marriages when it comes to self-love, including, communication. I never knew that is affected if you lack self-love, but now it can also be built through self-love. So karibu sana, even as we continue. Madam Mary, welcome back.
Thank you.
Tulikuwa kunywa kikombe cha maji.
For refreshment.
For self-love.
Self-love, it's also a break for self-love.
Oh, yes. And then we continue now. Now, what are the obstacles that couples face in practicing self-care?
Okay. So there are a number of the few things that affect couples in doing the self-care or self-love together. Number one is the limited time. Of course, that one we agree, because like I say, the other things that are important anyway, work, church, and family, and career. There's so much that you do, community work, that I won't say that you stop doing. So amongst that, we are finding ourselves having limited time as a couple, and this is where you're not able to squeeze and get time. But this one now, I said it has to be intentional. In the midst of the tight schedule. Squeeze in time for yourself. That is one obstacle I have observed, whereby there is limited time to do that as you try to balance all the other aspects of life that are also equally important. The other limitation or a challenge that I can say it's an obstacle for self-care is the guilt. The feeling of guilt. That is what, especially for us women, where you're feeling it's like you're doing something without your family, and it puts you into a situation that you feel you're guilty. Like when I said I used to go take a choma as myself, sana sisi wazazi, you're like, sasa nimekula nyama na watoto na mzee, so you feel so much guilty until you're not able to do it to yourself. And again, as a couple here, when you're coming together to do it, you would also feel guilty probably for the children who you don't have at that time. But I usually say, do it for yourself intentionally, and then find time for the other person, probably the children, or if it's an individual, for your spouse to go together. So like for me, I had set time for my children, but first I also have my time as an individual.
Yeah, true.
So that is one thing I have observed. Feeling guilty. People say it's waste of time, waste of money, you know, waste of energy. You know, like you take a vacation to Mombasa na hakuna biashara unafanya. People will think it's like waste of time, waste of money. So that is bringing a lot of guilt, which I'm saying you can be able to look at it positively. The other thing is unrealistic expectations.
Okay.
Realistic expectations is where maybe you're expecting something from your partner, which sometimes he's not in a position to. Take, for example, money. Maybe there's not enough money. Probably you're trying to balance the end meet. And the expectation, unrealistic expectations makes people not to be able to practice the self-care, self-love. And maybe you as a person, as you want to do it, you're also not able to find yourself in a situation to do it very well. And maybe not achieving what you want to achieve at the end of the day. But I'm also saying be positive in that. Yeah.
That's true.
The other thing is, it is actually, self-care, it is actually difficult to create time. To create that, not time, but the habit. You know, these are habits. Because the moment you start doing self-care, self-love, it may become a habit where you feel, wow, this month I have not gone for a self-care. Like for me, I usually feel like, Mary, you have not taken yourself out. You need to. When it becomes a culture. But when you're starting to develop it, it can be quite challenging. But I usually say that in your schedule, put a note somewhere, you know, this date has to be for this. Hata kama utaenda church in the afternoon, make sure you do it at once in a while. So the other one is the mindset. Generally, the mindset that people have. Like, there's one thing I tell people. Sometimes remember to buy yourself a gift. Sometimes you don't have to wait to be given a gift. What if this person doesn't? You do it intentionally to yourself, where you go window shop, find the best gift you can do, even wrap it and tell yourself, Mary, this for you. You feel good because like we give people gifts, they feel good. But when you're doing it to yourself, you're also feeling good. The mindset people have, they are thinking, I think we are shaped in a way we will think more of others than ourselves. But we need to strike a balance. As we think of others, let us not forget about ourselves. So I would urge people to work on the mindset as far as self-care, self-love is concerned, because this is one thing that we need to do as much as we need to continue to be functional, whether it is in the marriage or whether it's a personal life. Those are the major obstacles I have observed, amongst others, and we can be able to overwork on that by making sure that we are able to find time in the midst of all that.
That's true. Wow. You know, time has never been enough.
True.
Though we have 24 hours, all of us. But like you said, and I agree with you, Madam Mary, it has to be intentional. It has to be intentional. That you have said, at this time, I have set this time for this. Otherwise, if I don't do that, then other things will be affected.
And we are more of that, where you're thinking more about others. Take, for example, like work. If you look at it keenly, it is when you're doing it for others. Maybe for your employer, doing it for your children, you know, for you to belong. Like, you have to feel you belong. But literally, do we think of how much we also need to remember ourselves? And you do it intentionally, like you do work intentionally. So it is something we need to treasure more, and there is how it helps us. Maybe you'll be getting to that.
Wonderful. And maybe that's the point where we come in and ask ourselves, what are the advantages and the benefits of self-care in marriage and family?
Why are we talking about self-care, self-love in marriage and family, and also within the couple? Number one is that it helps to be able to ease anxieties and stress. You know, we are living in a world that has got so many, you know, we have a lot of stressors. Ukienda nyumbani, ukienda home, ukienda kazi, everywhere there are stress. And because of such scenarios, we will need to do self-care, because of easing the stress and also easing the anxiety. Another importance is that it helps us to be able to kind of familiarize ourselves. You know, we are like, if you are a couple, you're able to know to be familiar with this person. But the moment you're so busy on other stuff, we never have time for us to come together. We may not be able to actually know each other. But in the process of self-care, we are able to familiarize ourselves more. That is another benefit. The other one is that it improves the productivity within the family. Where I said in this relationship, we need to be productive. Hatuko tuju tuko ama tunafaa kukua. We need to be productive. Other than the children that has come forth in this marriage, we also need to grow each other and develop and get to a point. Like I ask people, in the next 5 years or 10 years, where would you want to see yourself? And you know, 5 years, it means a lot. You can achieve quite a lot within 5 years. What would you want to see happen? So meaning this marriage has to grow together. To get there, because you have set goals that needs to be achieved. So if you learn doing self-care, it helps you to have the energy, the strength, the courage to work towards your goals. Because in those moments when you're doing self-care, you're also able to remind yourself of the goals that you have set. So the other one, it boosts communication. Marriage and family, it's about communication.
That's true.
And when you're coming to do these things together, then it boosts the communication. You're able to talk. The other thing is that it improves the physical, mental, and psychological well-being. And that's why I'm here as a psychologist, because those are the areas we concentrate on. The mental, the psychological, the emotional. When you do self-care, you're able to work out that. Because we're emotional being, we are social being, we are psychological being. And that is one, like I can say, a medicine that you can give to yourself within the marriage. The other one is that it boosts the self-esteem and the confidence. And it also helps to reduce conflicts. Hizi mavita vita kidogo within the family, it's because you're not finding time for ourselves to do things together, to work on ourselves. Tunasukuma tu mambo juu time inaenda, but we are not like pausing to realize how much you also need to remember ourselves in the midst of this. So those people who often have conflicts, I tell them, decide to do self-care. Take a break, be free, you know, have your time, and it will help you to refresh. And you know, ni kama computer. Sometimes unazima saa zingine unaiput inaita kwa nini? Una reboot ndio iweze kupata space for more. The same is case with life. We need to reboot ourselves.
Wonderful.
So there are quite a number of the benefits, but for marriage and family, I'm really urging people to remember the self-care. Because it helps you in that relationship, and it also helps you as an individual, and even these children that are in that environment.
That's true. That's true. They also need to see a model of marriage that is working. Otherwise, if they see that it is not working, they will never, you know, one time want to be in marriage.
And there's also one thing I'm just remembering as you're talking about this. There is marriage where maybe as a woman you've been living alone, maybe your husband is working away, so you find these people has never gotten time to be together. And I think I'm a victim of that. My dad even used to leave my mother when she's pregnant. Atakuja mtoto hata sijui akiwa class 4. Hata ajui ni wake. You know, I have a challenge with such marriage because I know what that does to the children. Because you need to think of, as much as you're working away from the other, there is time that you need to come together. You know, you come together even if you're quite busy, and that also helps, because my cry is for the child. If you're not coming together and connecting, the children will always feel that, and it has got effect. Maybe for another day we can talk about that.
True.
Because we won't tell you stop working.
No.
But again, you need to remember in the midst of that, we need to come back together.
There's a commitment you need to, you know, put forward. Like decide, you know. And I love that word you used, being intentional. I think it solves all
self-care is intentional.
It solves everything about self-care. I like that. I want to just, you know, divert a little bit and ask you this, because we are born again, we go to church, and we find a couple who actually, they are pastors. They don't have that time for self-care and self-love because they are probably full-time pastors. They are doing all that. They have they're having people who comes and, you know, they speak to them, they counsel them and all that, but they still themselves, they don't have that. Maybe you can advise them on something.
Okay, yeah, for mostly those who are in the ministry serving, you know, it's really involving you a lot in the aspect of the spiritual matters. And remember, this is a person who is also in the institution of marriage, and as much as you're trying to balance all that, there is still a spouse here, or rather a marriage, and together with the children. So sometimes I tell them to think of vacations, and vacation would mean you as a couple, or rather you as an individual, once in a while, you find yourself getting out.
True.
You may even decide that when they go for prayers. For me, that is also part of self-care. When you're going for prayers, maybe take 3 days or a week, it's part of self-care, because by the time you're coming, your mind has really unwired. So if you're so tight and you're in the ministry, the avenue is about taking a vacation, whether it's to a mountain for prayers, or even you intentionally go like to coast or somewhere far away from the environment you've been in. And I say it's like, allow me to put it, it's a must do. It is a must do, as much as this body has to continue to work. Otherwise, you get burnout. It's like putting water in a bottle. You put. Ikija ina explode. And I don't want people to start exploding, because by the time you're exploding, even what you're doing, you'll not be able to do. So take breaks in between.
That's true.
Wow,
pastors, there you have it. Please take break. It is okay. Kanisa achia mtu kidogo, kimbia mahali and take care of your self, your marriage, na itakuwa mzuri sana. And I'm thinking and remembering a question one of our viewer asked. This is not even what I was to ask you, but our husband told me this. I'll put it in Swahili for people to understand. He said, oh, bibi yangu anakuwa nikikuja nyumbani anakuwa amevaa sijui nguo zinakaa aje, t-shirt sijui kimefika wapi, shoulder imeanguka t-shirt pande moja, all that. Yani I feel like she doesn't take care of herself. That was what the husband was telling me. So could it be that is so, and it is affecting, you know, the husband in that line? So what would you advise, especially to women?
Such,
that,
okay.
Amevaa t-shirt ya chama fulani
and a stocking.
The stocking.
Wow. So it is quite a challenge, and let me pose it like, we women, we forget ourselves. Let me be frank. I know I didn't get so much into the marriage. It was just for a short time. But how I wish that, although I'll still continue, I'm dreaming in life I'll get someone and settle anyway. Na gojea. Actually, I'm saying penya na chungulia kuje sasa. So because I want a time whereby even when I'm in that marriage, I need to live. You know, dress well. Appear well, you know, because you're already in a relationship. And that is a mistake that ladies are doing within the marriage. You don't want to appear. And you know, we deny ourselves so much until we deny even what we need to be putting on. Like, for example, I tell ladies, and even men for that case, there is nothing like a Sunday best. Your Sunday best, you should be wearing it oftenly. Because if it is a Sunday best, it means you're doing it for another person. So it has to be a culture that you're doing it for yourself to feel good, as you would want to do it on a Sunday for another person to recognize you're smart. So to women, hapa ndo tunaangukia sasa, because you're not appearing, and you're not wearing the best even when you're within the environment or at home. And you see for men, they love someone who is appearing beautiful, good. So I think we need to remember to do a lot of self-care within ourselves. And I say in counseling, everything has a meaning. What you wear, how you walk has a lot. It's something that you're communicating, even though it's not through the words. So I would also urge this man in that environment to also be taking the wife maybe for an out, where now she's going to dress very nicely and wanaenda out. So we forget so much ourselves until we even forget how we appear even towards your partner.
True.
And it is one thing we need to come back and remember that we need to appear good. We need to do, when you do something to yourself, because it is self-care, it boosts the confidence. True. And it also helps the marriage to be able to realize, they're able to realize, oh, this person is still existing. True. And you make the person feel happy. And they feel they belong. That's true. Yeah, so for those in marriages, kindly let us remember ourselves. Tusijisahau, whether the way you're wearing, the way you appear, even the cups that you use in the house. Nasamanga usiweke mgeni, use them for yourself. Serve your spouse with the best. Usiweke wageni na wakikosa kukuja. So make sure you're giving yourself the best, whether it is what you're eating, what you're wearing, anything that you do that makes the person feel good. It boosts and brings the marriage together. True. Yeah.
I like that. Especially that part ya vikombe. I like that.
Yeah.
Na nitaachia hiyo hapo.
For another day.
For another day. Madam Mary.
Yes.
I like that there's a point you said that the husband can come in and help the wife in that line. So do you mean that we can also help our spouses when it comes to self-love, them loving themselves? We can facilitate that.
Actually, that is the mistake, allow me to say, men are doing. Because you're so busy, but you're not finding time to take your partner for an out. Because at the time unampeleka out, atavaa vizuri. And you see, you're telling her, in other words, that I still recognize that you exist. True. But sometimes you are so busy, mliachana 5, mtapatana 9. There's no time even, you can't see how the person is. Has been, So men, it's also a challenge that find time for your partners, for taking them out. True. It may not cost you, even share a cup of tea outside, or just a small meal together. Talk 1, 2, 3, then get back to the house. There are people doing that, and that's why people are getting disconnected, and maybe we'll be talking about divorce much more. Yes. And these are some of the things that are even causing divorce. Kuna ile tunasemanga first love. Unakumbuka first love? The things we used to do together. And now we no longer do them together. So unapata watu walienda, mlikuwa mnafanya pamoja. But mkaenda mkiachana, the space become bigger. By the time you're realizing you have lost each one of you, issues come into that space. Then you don't want even to see the other person. We'll be talking about divorces, what causes divorces in marriage and family, and self-care, self-love is one of the things that people need to come back to do.
Wow. I know you will be coming back. So for us to continue that. But even before we get to close up this episode, some of the quotes concerning self-love, and also we touch on the biblical references on that. Yes.
Maybe one thing I can say as a quote, as far as self-care, self-love is concerned, is that this is an act for survival. If you want to survive, and especially in the current world we are in, self-care has to be in one of your fingertips. So it is one act for survival. As much as we want to live, as much as we want to enjoy this marriage, self-care has to be. The other thing I say about self-care, maybe I can tell those who are in the marriage, is that self-care is not an expense. It is an investment. It is not an expense. It is an investment. Because it's like you're investing something to boost you even for time. That's why I said you used to do together, but you no longer do it together. So you're disconnecting. But when you remember the self-care, it's bringing you together. So it is not an expense, but it is an investment to the marriage. So they need to do. It's a must to do. I said it's a must to do.
Hapa being one, we are saying must do.
And the last one I had mentioned it earlier, is that this is the only life you have to live. So remember yourself. Do self-care to yourself, because this body, if you don't take care of this body, whether it is physically, emotionally, psychologically, it will get weared out. Na tutaki kuwe kama gari inakuwa written off. You can imagine, yeah? We need our body to continue to be functional from our head, our body, and so self-care is one of it. So this is the only life that we are living, and we need to live. And living means self-care, self-love.
Yes.
Remember, there is this person who exists and who needs to feel good so that they can continue enjoying.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. That reminds me of a friend who went, abroad before we get into the biblical references. And I was telling him about self-love, because all their thinking is sending money back home, sending money back home. They have not even bought, something special for themselves with that money. They all take the whole lump sum. So they lack that part of taking care of themselves. So I'm agreeing with you on those. Yes.
And there's also, with that, there's also one thing I tell people. There are people who live today in the future. Okay, in today we think about the future.
Yes.
But there's someone who is working today, putting the money in the bank for the sake of the future, whether it's for this marriage or a personal life.
True.
And they will never enjoy whatever they are laboring for. So I always urge them, as you're thinking to invest for the future and putting your money in the bank, you need to live. Where they are denying themselves, they are not living. So you're living today, but in the future, which is sometimes dangerous. And that's why you see hata mtu anaenda unaacha pesa yako na inaenjoyiwa na watu. So why don't you also treat yourself as you also think about the future. The other thing I tell people is that don't live today in the past.
Okay.
The things that used to happen, let them be in the past.
Yeah.
Live today. Because I usually say today, there is power today. The present is significant.
Yeah.
So it also means live, because now you're in the present. Yeah. Sure. Wow. So mimi ile niko nayo hapo huwa na enjoy vizuri. Then I'll think next minute of how I need to prepare for. I think it is also biblical.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into some biblical examples.
Yeah. So I wanted to give a verse from the book of Mark 6:31. Maybe we can read later in our free time. Mark 6:31 to 32.
Yes.
It's talking about spending time alone. And I look at that as far as self-care, self-love is concerned.
Yes.
Where we are told we need to spend time alone. It says, let's go off by ourselves to a quiet place and rest for a while.
Okay.
It continues. So we need to take ourselves, have ourselves an off.
Yes.
Take a rest to a quiet place, where you're just having your own time there, so that we can be able to unwind.
True.
And you can also read a verse from the book of Matthew 15:32. Maybe you can read about that. And that talks about keeping up with our needs. As much as we are doing everything to meet our needs, there is this need of having to care about ourselves.
Yes.
Psalms 23 talks about how the Lord take care of us as He is our shepherd. True. The Lord is our shepherd and we will lack nothing. Yeah. So even God knows our needs and He is shepherding us. True. And so that's why we really need to take care of ourselves, because a shepherd wouldn't want to see anything getting lost that he's shepherding. So let us not get lost in the midst of the tight schedules and all that we do. Let us remember that we need to live. We have a life and God wants us to enjoy this life that He has given to us.
Wow.
To see divert sana na the tight schedules and time. Let us remember that we need to live, enjoy this life that God has given us, and with that we are going to be very fruitful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Madam Mary.
Yeah.
That is so deep.
Yeah.
So deep and so important for our marriages and families.
Yes.
And I know you are right there. Now I want even to give her this chance to give us a call to action, because we cannot have such kind of knowledge and not have a call to action. Meaning we really need to get to work. We need to work on ourselves. And so, Madam Mary, for this time and for a few minutes, maybe you can tell us now, let's get to work. Let's love ourselves. Yes, let's take care of ourselves right through this camera.
Yeah, I want to echo the words once again. I know we have talked a lot, but I said we need to live. I know we have forgotten ourselves with a lot of the things that happens around us, but we need to live. We need to enjoy this life that we have, because it is the only life that we have.
True.
But if we keep forgetting about ourselves, remember there is you. You know, it's all about yourself, even as you think about others. And that will bring you to enjoying whatever you're doing, whether it is at work, whether it is this marriage, whether it is these children that you're bringing up, or whether it is your family, where you're coming from, a lot. So make sure you take care of yourself. It is part of taking care of yourself by doing the self-care, self-love, and with that you're going to enjoy the life and also the marriage that God has blessed you with. So take watch, and always remember there is you who need to live and enjoy life.
Wow.
Thank you. And God bless you a lot.
Amen.
Yeah.
There is you. Please.
Yeah.
That's a quote by Madam Mary right there.
Yeah.
And probably people would want to meet you or visit you somewhere.
Okay, I'm having a current nimefungua YouTube just the other day.
Wonderful.
And I have a company, I'm calling it Subra Wellness Services. You can get me to the YouTube with that name, Mary Wanjiru Psychologist, and you'll find a number of the things that I'm doing there, though it's quite new.
Yeah.
You can also contact me with my number, and that is 07 15 235 388. 07 15 235 388. In case you have an issue, whether it is matters marriage and family, I'm a marriage and family therapist. I also work with the children. I also work with the adolescent. Probably you're having issues with adolescent. I also work with issues related to workplace, that is workplace counseling. I didn't also say that I'm working with Huduma Kenya at Kibra branch. We are also having a desk for counseling. And mind you, for Huduma, we are offering free counseling services. So you get me there, I'll give you free counseling. And I also do much of the trainings. And I bless God for that. So reach out and we'll help you. We'll connect you with other professionals so that you can get help. Don't die there and be stressed with a lot of issues happening around yourself. Reach out, because reaching out and expressing your issue is halfway solved.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you have it. Thank you so much, Madam Maid.
Yeah.
And this is not the last time you're coming here.
Yeah, we are starting.
We are starting.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I know you also be following her on her YouTube. We will have those details right there on your screen so that you can also contact her. And please, ni mambo na counseling peke yake kwa hiyo number.
Yeah. Very important.
Very important. So we are going to see you in our next episode. But in the meantime, please share this to someone that you think they need to hear it. Please share, and also leave a comment right there. We will be, reading it in our next episode, even as we continue encouraging you that really marriages are working, and even yours will work in the name of the Lord Jesus. We thank you for joining us, and until next time, my name is Ken Campbell. Shalom and see you. Bye-bye.